Hey guys, my name is Mrs. B. Okay, welcome back to the shit show that is my YouTube channel, or welcome to the shit show that is my YouTube channel. I decided to make this get ready with me video as sort of a get to know me type video because I realized that the people on YouTube don't know really much about me. I just kind of assume that the one person watching my YouTube videos is somebody from my Twitch community, so they do know me, but I realized today that that's not necessarily the case. So I decided to do a little get to know me type thing where I talk about my past, where I came from, how I got to where I am. But naturally things got derailed and weird because I didn't make a script. I was just kind of talking out my butthole. But we did get to me talking about actual things about me that I asked you guys for ideas that you wanted me to talk about, and but that's at the end. So I hope you enjoy. Like, comment, subscribe, peace, and let's get into the video. Go. All right, we're not wearing the bunny ears, whatever they are. I don't know, because I don't know why I wore those in my last video, but I hated them. It's really annoying and it hurts my ears. So that was way too much primer. Oh well. Okay, so getting started. I was born in Phoenix, Arizona. And the house we lived in, I don't really remember like the house I was like born in. We moved out of it when I was 5. So really the only house that I know is like the one that I grew up in. We lived there for a long time, but extenuating circumstances, yada yada. I'll get there. This is a get to know me. So I can't move too fast. I also have to get ready while I'm doing this, which is very distracting. Why do I do this? So yeah, I was born in Phoenix, Arizona to my amazing, loving parents. They would still be together to this day if my father had not died. I make jokes to cope. So yeah, my government name is Stacy. You don't get to call me that. I've been Mrs. Beetlejuice for 8 years now, so I have siblings. My oldest sibling is my half-sister, and then I have an older brother and a middle brother. I have a sister that I chose to keep after the divorce. If you know, you know. I also have a sister that quite frankly chose me, which I am so fucking grateful for, but she lives in Poland. She knows everything. She knows too much, in fact, and I am so honestly blessed. She's probably my favorite sibling, even though we're not blood. But yeah, I grew up with my 2 brothers. My half-sister lived with her mother for the majority of my life, but she did live with us at some points. Growing up, I was a weird kid, clearly. Growing up, I also didn't play video games. We didn't have money, so I didn't have gaming consoles and things like that. We did eventually get a PlayStation, but I just wasn't that into video games. Even at like friends' houses that had video games, I just wasn't into it back then. Everyone says that if you have ADHD, you'll love video games, but I was unmedicated ADHD, and now that I am medicated, I love them, so I don't know. But yeah, growing up, I was a weird kid. I was the kid that had friends that were not my friends and would bully me. You know those friends? So I was bullied, but I had friends that were like the cool kids. I feel like everyone can relate to that. But yeah, my home life was great. I had amazing, loving parents, but that didn't stop horrible things from happening. So I did have a troubled childhood, and it led me down a horrible path because I was too much of a chicken shit to tell my parents. But that's not really what this video about. I guess I'm just trying to give you guys an idea of like what shaped me and made me become who I am today. So I didn't do very well in school. I did okay in middle school. I was a teacher's pet, hand to Bible teacher's pet in middle school because I didn't really have that great of friends that were like super nice to me. So I would spend my like recess time in, I'll never forget it, in my 5th grade teacher's classroom, helping her like decorate and stuff like that, and I will never forget her. She had a huge impact on my life. I won't say her name because that feels weird, but she was an awesome teacher. Growing up, I was a difficult child. I would say I was always getting hurt, getting into trouble. I got into trouble a lot, and it was, I don't know, I'm not gonna blame anyone else but myself. Like one time I got suspended in like middle school for taking my best friend's Victoria's Secret Love Spell lotion and dumping it all over her PE locker, which our lockers were like this big, and I just like dumped it out in her locker and I got suspended for it. I did have to go to like special tutoring for some classes. I just didn't learn as well as the other kids. I don't learn the way traditional schools taught back then, I guess. I did not do well in school. Obviously now we know why, If you've been on my Twitch stream, you know a little bit about my backstory, but that's kind of what I'm going to give you. I started using, I'm not monetized, so it doesn't really matter. DRUGS is young, pretty young. And that is no one's fault but my own. Point blank, period. But I will tell you the story of how that unfolded. So when I was in, I don't even know what grade, but I was young. I was pretty young. And I broke my arm playing basketball. Not like playing basketball like we were at recess playing basketball. I like fell, tripped over somebody, or somebody pushed, I don't even know. But I broke my arm, and at that time, I want to say that was like when opiates were like the thing, and they gave me opiates. And then I cracked my head open too one time. This one was absolutely not my fault, and I blame the kid that did it. But I was standing on the sidewalk, and the kid of the babysitter that would like watch us after school came at me on his bike and like just kept going. And I grabbed the handlebars and he shoved me backwards, and I fell and hit my head on a rock and cracked my head open. And again, they gave me opiates for the pain. And at this point, I had already been through some traumatizing situations, and I liked the way that they made me feel. And so this led me to seeking them out. And I know this is horrible, but I would find ways to get said opiates, whether that was breaking a bone or stealing them from my father or what have you. And then I got really, really, really sick, to the point where anything that I would eat, I would be in uncontrollable pain. There was just pain, unimaginable pain. And I was in the ER every other day, and we couldn't figure out what was wrong. I had been told I had a parasite, a tapeworm, an eating disorder, that I was a drug seeker. And at this point, I really wasn't looking for drugs. I was in legit stomach pains. I could not eat without being in agony, unless it was like crackers. And I was steadily losing an insane amount of weight. I did not weigh over 110 pounds until I was 25. So I was very, very skinny. I was very sick. And I had been struggling with SI and S8 at this point for quite a while. And my opiate addiction was getting worse. And then I found a cheaper alternative to this and started using that. This started when I was probably 17, 18. Yeah, I was really sick. And this was all throughout like my teenage years that I was really sick. And I had seen the movie Cadet Kelly. If you know, you know. And I wanted to go to military school so bad. I wanted to join the military. That was all I wanted. I begged my parents to send me to military school. That was literally all I wanted. But because I was so sick, my parents said no. They were not going to send me to military school. So I said, bet the day I turn 17, we are going down to the recruiter's office and I am joining the army. That's all I wanted out of life. I had my whole life planned out. I was going to join the army and be an MP, which is military police, 31 Bravo, shouts out. And then I was going to do 20 years and retire and then be like a city cop with like a canine unit. I really wanted to train canines. But obviously because I was so sick, they basically DQ'd me, disqualified me, because I was so severely underweight and I couldn't put on weight. And this was back when they could check your previous medical records. So they had seen all of my past medical history, all of my ER visits. My camera's cooking. They had seen all of my hospital visits. They had seen everything. And they said, no. I did score really high on my practice ASVAB. I think I got like a 96. And so my recruiter was Jazz. And then I scored a 56 on the actual ASVAB because if you don't know, they set you in this really cold room with just computers and a pencil and a piece of paper and a computer and a person staring at you. And I was the only one in there. And I'm a very, very anxious person. And so it was very anxiety inducing. So of course I bombed and I scored a 56, but that was enough to get me an MP job. But after going through everything and even trying to gain weight with them and doing their program, I couldn't put on the weight. So they DQ'd me. So that kind of fueled my usage and my self-harm. And I was running with bad crowds. I was doing not great things. And then I met a guy. I think I told the story times of my ex-boyfriend that like got me pregnant, so I'll save that and jump right to the guy that I basically fled Arizona from. Not actually, but the guy that is one of the reasons why I left Arizona. I started living with him in an apartment and we adopted a puppy together, and shit got really bad. He was abusive to not only me but to my dog, and so I ran from that relationship and moved back in with my parents. And I'm 21 at this time. Let me finish this right. Got to hurry, I'm running late. I'm always running late. Damn. Got to take my meds. Got to take my meds. All the medicated homies, stand up. If you're crazy and you know it, shake your meds. Dang it. Let me take this real quick. One sec. So, okay, hold on. I gotta finish my eyes or I'm gonna keep getting distracted. Give me two, like, I don't know. Give me a second. God damn. This pencil is so creamy that it's like go through it so fast. Okay, maybe you're just rough, Juice. Maybe you're just too rough. Too much. I have this thing called a too much gene, and it's toxic. Anyways, let me finish. I gotta finish this, and then I will finish with my story. Holy fucking shit. Doing my makeup at my stream desk is literally so difficult. My ring light sucked. And the lighting just sucks so bad. But I can't, like, bring my, like, vanity mirror over here because there's just not enough room. This sucks. Just give me a second, okay? I'm trying to hurry. But I don't think this is actually going to be long enough for me to yap while I do this anyways. But I really got to focus because I got to get this shit blended, bro. God. Fucking hell. Oh my god, I'm going to be so late. No, I'm still going to be late. It's fine. Also, I'm blind. I don't have the best vision, but that's neither here nor there. The lighting is also, this is a PSA to all you bitches out there that wear makeup. Clean your brushes. Just saying. I gotta clean mine. So that's my PSA to all of you is clean your brushes. You're welcome. Anyways, that's as blended as we're gonna get for now. So once that freak show, that human being that I was dating hurt my dog, I was fucking out of there. I was gone. You can hurt me all day long, but you hurt my dog and you hurt any animal and I don't trust you. And fun, not so fun fact, horrible fact, actually, I was right not to trust that man because years later, actually, I want to say last year or maybe the year before, maybe in 2023, because I think it was after my dad died, I found out that that man ended up murdering his father. So I was absolutely right not to trust that man. So I moved back in with my parents and my brother, who was in the military, because both of my brothers joined the military, got stationed in Kansas. And my parents helped him and his wife at the time move and fell in love with it. So they said, hey, we're moving to Kansas. You can come with us or you can stay here. You have a job, you're yada yada. Yeah, you just got out of that place, but you can stay here if you want. And I was an active user at that time. And in that very moment when they said that, I just knew. I had this feeling in my gut that if I did not pause, pre-K pause, do not judge me for the way that I do my makeup, please. Okay? Thank you. I know this is not concealer, but I feel like it just makes my eye bags not so eye baggy. Okay? And it works for my skin. Don't judge me. Leave me the fuck alone about it. Thank you. So, what was I saying? Oh yeah. When they said that, I knew in my gut that if I did not go with them or move with them, that I would wind up dead. I would OD or I would get myself into a situation that would wind up with me no longer alive. Because as I said, I was heavily using at the time. I was around not great people, sketchy people, if you will. I swear this beauty sponge is clean. Don't come for me. Leave me alone. So I made the decision to move to Kansas with them. And we did. We packed up all of our stuff and began the drive to Kansas. I had just a little bit of my substance of choice and I decided that the first night on the road at the hotel that we stopped at, I got my own room and that what I had left is what I finished that night. And I felt like going to Kansas and cutting myself off from it and basically forcing my body to detox without having literally any option of getting more. Because if you've ever driven from Arizona to Kansas or from anywhere to Kansas, it's nothing but highway. There's nothing. So I felt that that was the best way for me to essentially detox and go through withdrawals. And I was driving, yes. Don't do this. It's very dangerous. It was very dangerous. It was very scary. It was very, very scary. But basically, I was going through withdrawals while driving to Kansas for 4 days. And 4 days because we had our dogs with us and my dad had really bad hips and his back was really bad. So driving for long periods of time was very hard on him. And no one knew. No one knew. I don't want anyone to say anything bad about my parents because obviously it wasn't hard to figure out that I was stealing my dad pain pills when I first started using. And there was even a time when my brother got his tonsils taken out after me and he got a refill of the liquid like codeine medication that they give you after they don't do it anymore, thank God, that they would give you after you got your tonsils taken out, and he got a refill, but he didn't need it. And I stole the whole thing, and they didn't notice until it was already gone. And I remember my mom ripping my room apart and saying, I know it's here. I know you took it. I know I took it. And the fact of the matter, I did take it, but she wasn't going to find it in my room because I had already taken it all and threw it in a trash can down the road, like walking to school one day. They just didn't know how far my addiction had gone. Our minds don't want to believe certain things. They don't want to believe the worst, so they come up with excuses and kind of try to rationalize things, because no parent wants to believe that their child is an addict. And that's valid. That's rational. I don't want anyone to think that I had horrible, like, neglectful parents. Like, they obviously knew something was wrong. They just were doing their best. And the best thing that they ever did for me was say that they were moving to Kansas. And obviously give me the option to either go with them or stay in Arizona. And I am so unbelievably thankful and glad that they did give me that choice to essentially mooch off them for a while when we moved to Kansas, because I don't think I would be here today if it was not for that. And my parents did not find out. Well, my dad never found out. Oh my God, don't make this emotional. Don't make this emotional. But they didn't know until basically my dad was really, really sick with the cancer. And I had this weird irrational fear that when he died, he was going to basically get a movie style version of my life and all of the horrible things that I did, but also that happened to me. And so I did tell my mom everything. There was some horrible stuff. So we moved to Kansas, and it's rough. I'm really second guessing the move, but the thing that solidified the move for me and was a sign that I was doing the right thing was we moved into the rental house and opened up the dishwasher, and there's a shot glass, just a single shot glass sitting in the dishwasher, and it says Kansas on it. And fun fact about me is I collect shot glasses from every place I've been to. I've been to almost all 50 states, and I have a shot glass from every single one. I even have shot glasses from Korea, Germany, France, Hawaii. I have shot glasses from everywhere. And so when I opened up that dishwasher and saw this shot glass, that was like a sign to me that this is good. This is where you need to be. This is where you should be. You made the right choice. So I get a job and I am living my life in Kansas. I'm meeting people. I'm just going through the motions, and I go out to a bar with a friend that I worked at the hospital with, and I meet a man. And my response is to go home. Oh no, I didn't go home with him that night. Oh my God. I was a heavy drinker at this point. I changed alcohol. I mean, I was sober for a long time and I didn't really drink all that much, but I did start drinking. And so I get this guy's number and we kind of hit it off. And at first I was like, oh, he's into my friend. He wasn't. He's into me. And so I get his number and we start texting and then hang out, I want to say like the very next day. And he has a truck, so we go out like off-roading, typical man shit. And then I go home with this man. Only home for him was the barracks, because he was in the army. Which, don't do that. Don't do that. It's not okay. It's actually against their rules. Don't do that. But I end up spending the night in his barracks and spend almost all day there. And so we start dating, and then he meets my family, and we're only dating for a month, I want to say. If that. Maybe 2, maybe 3. I don't know. This time's really blurry and flubby to me, but he ended up needing surgery. And it just so happened that my mom worked at the Army hospital, and since he was a single soldier living in the barrack, he wouldn't have been able to be discharged, which typically when you have like an orthopedic surgery, like a shoulder surgery or knee surgery, he had both surgeries done at the same time. They did surgery on his knee to fix the screws that were previously put in because they were too big and they did not dissolve properly, but he also had shoulder surgery. Can't say shoulder very well because of my teeth. So he would have had to stay in the hospital for a few days because he lived in the barracks and they don't allow them to go back to the barracks because they do need help and there's stairs and yada yada. So my kind, sweet mother said, you can either get admitted and like I'll be your nurse, or you can stay here with us after your surgery. So like at parents' house, because at that point I was living back with my parents. So he chose to stay with us, which at the time I was like, okay, whatever, I'll be your home nurse. What? Okay, thanks. Thanks, Mom. Not her fault. She was just being kind. But so the day of his surgery, I go and pick him up. And he's loopy. And the nurse is basically talking to me, saying, you know, don't let him drive. Don't let him sign any legal documents. And me being the weird fuck that I am, I say, oh, so that means that I can't trick him into signing a marriage license. Like, just very flippantly, very jokingly, because she said, like, he can't sign any legal documents for the next however many hours or whatever. And so I was like, tee weirdo, me. And then we leave and we're driving back to my house. And he looks at me and says, we should get married. And I tell him, how about we talk about this when you're not on drugs, when you're not all loopy after surgery, obviously. But he meant it. And he ends up proposing. And I tell him, okay, I will marry you, but I want you out of the military. I don't want to be a military spouse. I don't want to deal with that. And it just so happened that it was great timing because he was actually getting paid to essentially get out of the military because the unit he was in, they were shutting it down in like layman's terms. It's a whole thing, but whatever. And so he was getting out of the military and getting a payout for it. So we get married. I won't get into the specific, but I don't need to. I talk about it on my live streams a lot. I think I talked about it in the Kayla Malik video. I've been there and it's not fun. Anyways, so we get married, we buy a house, and I didn't work. I wasn't allowed to work, but my mom calls me one day and says, hey, there is a trauma symposium. Can't say that either with this stupid retainer. There's a trauma symposium out by you. Do you want to go with me? Like, I'll stay the weekend with you and we can go together. Obviously, I had to check with my spouse. And at first he said, okay. He said yes. But then it became a problem. But we were still going to go. And it's the weekend of my mom is with me. And I get a call basically saying that he has filed for divorce and a restraining order saying that neither one of us can empty out the bank accounts or touch anything in the house. Now, mind you, he had immediately after filing it, he had emptied out the bank accounts completely. So I had no money. And he had just bought me a really expensive car and made me trade in my car that was almost paid off. And I couldn't afford it. But basically in his mind, because my mother was staying with me, he believed that I was going to leave and take everything. And he was making up excuses on why he was doing this, that I was cheating, that I was doing this, that, and the third, when in reality, he was cheating. I caught him multiple times. I was a little hacker. No surprise on why I'm going into the profession that I am, information technology. I'm getting my graduate degree. And I caught him cheating multiple times. It came down to the fact that he was afraid that I was going to leave him and take everything. So he took everything before I even had a chance. So I wanted to go to a trauma symposium. So because of his job, we did get a fast track divorce. He is still ruining my life to this very fucking day. He is a fucking coward and basically bitched out on his reserve contract after getting out of the military. And because he forced me to use his GI Bill while we were married, but now they're coming after me saying that I have to pay all of it back, which I only used 11 grand. He used 32 grand to pay for his bachelor's degree, and I have to pay all of it back. Or the government is saying that I have to pay it all back because he's, again, a coward. But I'm dealing with that. I'm still dealing with that. We were divorced in 2017, so it's been a hot minute. But I end up getting a job and moving into my own apartment. Still very far from my parents because it was a hospital, and it was a nice hospital, and I loved their ER, and that's where I wanted to work. And I had already lived so far from my parents because he had isolated me and basically forced me to move like an hour from my parents. So I get a job, I'm living in my apartment, and it's bad. My mental health is horrible. I am in a horrible spot. I was so afraid. I'm still to this day, I'm afraid of deleting text messages or anything because of him. I'm terrified of it. I had a really hard time with even like throwing out trash. The only thing that really got thrown out was the cat litter. But I had a plan because I was ready to AMA on out of life. If you're a nurse, against medical advice. I was so ready to exit AMA style out of life. And so basically I planned a trip, saw some of my best friends with the full intention to come back and just let a community of amazing people save my life on Twitch, which is crazy. I know, crazy, but I had been talking to those people and kind of like expressing, like what I was going through. And it was my only connection to people that didn't know who I was, didn't know my story, didn't know my past, and didn't use it against me. Because for so long I had been told, you will never be I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a doctor. I dropped out of med school, but for a long time I was being told that my addiction would hold me back and I would never become a doctor. I wasn't smart enough to become a doctor. I would become an addict again. I wouldn't be able to help myself. I would lose my license if I did get it. But these people had no idea who I was. And at the time I was kind of falling in love with video games. I'd fallen in love with Gears of War and The Division. When I left that marriage, all I had was my dog, my cat, and a truck, because I ended up taking his truck and a PlayStation, and that was it. So I started really getting into this community. And so when you have SI, it's not so much as like you're going to do it, it's more of the ideation of it. You can form a plan, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to act on it. So these online people silenced those thoughts, and they basically told me, you should try it. You should try streaming. And at first my name on Twitch was Little Whiskey Girl, because that was my Instagram name at the time. But my PSN, my PlayStation Network name was Mrs. Beetlejuice, and that is because of my abusive ex. Because before, my gamer tag on Xbox, which he made me get rid of my Xbox because he said PlayStation's better. I didn't know what to make my PSN because he said Kansas Princess is fucking stupid. But his PSN was Beetlejuice, Beatle juice, with some numbers after it. So I was like, well, I'll just make mine Mrs. Beetlejuice, because I couldn't think of anything else. I'm not creative. I don't know. So that was my PSN. And when I decided to start streaming, I was like, I want it to match my PSN. So I did. And it has become my armor, if you will. It has become my fuck you. I may be in a horrible situation. My mental health might not be great. I may be in medical debt and still paying off debt from that fucker, but I have an amazing community online, and that's what matters. So I started streaming, and I also stopped drinking, because there is nothing more embarrassing than a drunk streamer. Also, the state of my apartment and state of me was not good, because I was drinking so heavily all the time, and I was making horrible decisions while drunk. So I stopped drinking and I started streaming on my days off, and I have not quit. I was living in my apartment and getting my act together. I ended up meeting somebody who is amazing, the most patient, kind, selfless, awesome, loving human being on the fucking planet. I'm not gonna say his name because that feels weird, but if you're watching, you know who you are, and you deserve the fucking world, and I fucking love you and I adore you. And for you to still give a flying rat's fuck about me after all that I put you through, thank you. Thank you so much. But we started dating, we moved in together, and then the epiphany came where I am not great. I don't necessarily have a label. I do prefer they, them, but she, her works, he, him works. My style is very fluid, but I end up coming out to him after proposing to him live on stream. And this man hugged me and told me it was okay, and he understood, and is now married and having a baby and a beautiful family, and I am just so unbelievably happy for him and thankful for him. So I moved out of his place, and this was right when COVID started. This was in 2020. And I got laid off from my job, and I streamed full-time for a month, and I made a fuck ton of money, but I was terrified that it wasn't gonna last. So I ended up getting a job, which is the job that I currently work at now, and I fucking love it. I hate it a lot too. I hate it. I hate my job a lot, but the people I work with make up for it. And my supervisor and everyone They become like family. We're all really close, and it's an amazing job. So I get this job, and basically when you go from streaming every day to not streaming every day, you're basically starting from ground zero. So basically everything reset, which was fine, whatever. But so I'm working this job. I went back to school, and my parents end up moving back to Kansas because they did move back to Arizona for a period of time to be with my grandmother, who was struggling with living alone, and they just thought it would be better for them, but they ended up moving back to Kansas. And so I moved in with them, and that's about the time that my dad got his cancer diagnosis. So I moved in with them to help and to kind of get situated again after living with somebody and being able to afford my bills while also simultaneously trying to pay off still debt from my marriage. My dad is doing treatment, and he ends up falling off of a ladder one day. He was outside trying to like fix the trimming on our house because we were originally renting it, but then they put it up for sale, and I was like, guys, why not just buy this house? Like, we live here already. Why are we gonna go through another move on trying to find another house? Just buy it. So we end up buying it. And my dad's outside like fixing the side paneling of our house after a pretty bad storm, and he ends up falling off the ladder. And I begged him to get a head CT, but he's like, I didn't hit my head, yada yada yada. Whatever. You did, but okay. He's like, I brushed grass off my head. I'm like, see, you hit your head. But he's like, I didn't. Well, a couple days go by, and he ends up having a seizure on the couch. So my mom talked him into going to get a head CT, and this was on a Thursday. So and the doctor basically says, if we don't call you by tomorrow, you're in the clear. You're good. So they don't end up calling us Thursday. They don't end up calling us Friday. So we go the whole weekend thinking there's nothing wrong. We go all throughout Monday thinking nothing's wrong. And then Monday evening comes, and my parents are eating dinner, and I am downstairs editing, I think, maybe even doing homework, I don't know. But my mom calls me upstairs, and my dad's on the phone, and I can just tell. I just knew his lung cancer had metastasized, and I was furious. I was madder than hell. So mad, because they told us, if we don't call you, everything's fine. And they waited until Monday 6 p.m. to call us. 5, I don't know. My parents were eating dinner, for fuck's sake. So he starts treatment for that, and my community had been so unbelievably amazing throughout all of this. He had like Medicare or Medicaid or whatever because he was retired and disabled, but they wouldn't pay for his surgery to have his port put in, and they didn't want to pay for some of his radiation and chemo treatment. So we did fundraisers. The organization I was with held a buy-in tournament, Call of Duty tournament, to help. And I didn't want it to be where they just played and like whoever won got nothing. So we did do a prize pool, and it ended up everybody that won ended up donating their portion of the winnings to my dad's medical bills, which was really fucking cool. We made a design, basically. It's a flag. It says "No one fights alone," and it has a silver ribbon, which is the lung cancer awareness ribbon. And it's the coolest design. It's still up on my merch site. I will never get rid of it. I had a custom emote made, and it's a picture of my dad with silver boxing gloves and holding them up, and his black sunglasses on his head. That was really cool. My community has been amazing through all this, still is amazing through all of that. So he's doing treatment, and at first they tell us with the brain cancer, they tell us there's only 2 tumors. But then my mom asks for the disc of the CT scan, and there were so many that we couldn't even count them when we were looking at the scans ourselves. There was just so many. So he's on seizure medication, and he can't drive at this point. So we did have like family come and stay with us off and on, and I would take off work to take him to his treatment. And then he has a follow-up scan, and it's a whole body one just to see if by chance the cancer metastasized anywhere else. And they find a tumor on his pancreas, and it turns out to be secondary primary pancreatic cancer. So what that means is it is not metastatic lung cancer. It is a completely different cancer, but it is secondary to the lung cancer, and it's primary because it is a different kind of cancer. And I immediately knew what that meant. We found out, I think, in September or October of 2022. And it was hard. It was really hard at first because it was like my family, he was just walking around like he was going to beat it. He was going to fight it, but he was tired. The radiation burns were awful. The chemo was awful, and he had neuropathy in his hands. And I remember he had told me that the worst part of it all was that he had no feeling in his hands. So when he would like touch my mom or try to like just like feel her, he couldn't because the neuropathy was so bad in his hand. Whoa, why is this getting emotional? This is supposed to be a get to know me video. Oh my God. Whoa. How do we get here? Whoa. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. Okay. Let me finish this. I did not mean for it to go this route. Wow. Whoa. Okay. Anyways, so my dad decides to stop treatment. And two of my siblings still lived in Arizona, and they had planned originally to come out for his birthday, which is in March. But around December time, I told them that that's not gonna work. He's not gonna make it to his birthday. And I had been right. He was getting weaker and weaker, and so we were all kind of pitching in, trying to help him get from place to place, and he was just done. February rolls around. It's February 12th. And the night before, my mom said that he wouldn't go to sleep and he was just really restless and kind of getting confused. And the next morning, he woke up completely confused. He was really agitated, wouldn't sit still. It was just a mess. That day's such a blur. But basically, by that night, we had admitted him to hospice because he didn't want to die at home. And my family and the Monster Mafia, my community, took over his fight that night at around 11:30 p.m. And he was at peace. He was comfortable. He wasn't in any pain, finally. He was finally resting comfortably when he did end up passing. But I don't remember much of the night. I took so many anxiety meds that I basically had to be like carried into my house. And it was rough after that. So I'm still living with my mom because obviously I wasn't going to leave her alone after all of that. And my community was once again so fucking amazing and just loved him so much. We called him Papa Juice. So me and my mom are trying to find like our new normal without dad. And I'm just streaming. I'm just doing what I can. I'm randomly crying. You know, you just burst out crying. And I had a lot of anger, but I would find ways other than SH. I was able to get help. I did go to therapy, but I became the person that I hate the most. Not hate the most. That's dramatic. But I hadn't drank. I hadn't done any drugs other than my anxiety meds and my like sleeping meds and tick meds. But my mom decided that she wanted to go spend a month in Arizona just to kind of get out of the house, because when you see the same thing every day where somebody once occupied a space and they no longer occupy that space, your brain kind of goes to this weird thing where you expect that person to be there, because everything looks the same, and so it looks as if they should be there, and they're not. And so my mom goes to Arizona, and I had a bottle of vodka that I put at the end of my bed, and I left it there, and I didn't touch it at first. I made it almost the entire month while she was gone without drinking it. And I think it was like 3 days before she was coming home that I pushed the fuck it button and drank the entire thing and then got on stream. And at first, I tried to act like nothing was wrong, but immediately started sobbing and confessed, and my entire community, I don't really remember this, but from what I was told, my entire community was like, end stream, end stream, end stream. My chosen sister that lives in Poland begged me to call my kept after the divorce sister, and I did. And so she came over and she recorded me, which is really, really embarrassing, but thank God she did, so I could see the fucking freak that I was. I was fighting her over a bottle of Fireball, and I was hungover for 3 days after that. And my community still supported me after that, which thank fuck for that. So yeah, that happened. And then I said, okay, never doing that again. My mom decides that she's going to move back to Arizona, and I move in with my kept after the divorced sister. And now I am moving back to Arizona because she is getting married, and I have I do have familial support, obviously, with her out here, but with the way my mental health has tanked and everything, and just everything that has happened, I need my mom. And my mom has also found out that she cannot live alone because she was living with my grandmother, but my grandmother just recently passed away. So yeah, that's where we're at now. I am moving back to Arizona in a month, and I am scared shitless because Arizona is where I had all the access in the world to my substances of choice, and I have all of those connections still in my phone. I have not changed my number in 5 million years, so it's terrifying. But one reassuring thing is that my family doesn't really know me, but like my brother, he doesn't really know me as anything other than a drug addict, because he stayed in Arizona when we moved to Kansas, and when I got sober, obviously I've seen him since we moved. We've lived here for almost 12 years. But he really only knows me as an addict. And obviously my mom does too. So they would be able to, I feel like, hold me accountable. Anyways, yep, I moved back and it's gonna suck because it's really hot. But the topics that I actually wanted to talk about on this get to know me is just actually things about me. So I covered where I'm originally from and where I live now, my ethnicity and cultural background. My dad was a mutt, as he would say. He Native American, Mexican, and a whole bunch of Spaniard. El Spaniard. My mother is a whole lot of European. We do have a castle in England, Germany, which is my mother's maiden name. So that is what I am a mix of. I am an Aries, but also not at all in Aries except for my temper. I am not confident, but I will fight you. I am all fire and no, nothing good. I'm all the bad qualities of an Aries. My hobbies, like I talked about, are video games, coding, building computers. I love building computers. I'm sorry, but there's nothing better, and you cannot change my mind. My favorite games are, fortunately, Call of Duty, Gears of War, always and forever, The Division. Oh, love that game. And hot take, but Anthem. That game could have and should have done great things. And I think if it would have done better, I would not be a Call of Duty streamer today. If it would have done better and been what it should have been. I make all sorts of content. I also make spicy content. I love all sorts of music. Billie Eilish and Sleep Token are my top two. Hands down, have them on repeat. I'm obsessed. I can't stop listening to either one of them. I am chaotic, crazy, a little bit gothic, a little bit emo. I don't look like this on an everyday basis. I literally only wear makeup to stream or make videos. I wear wigs. I used to dye my hair every month. I used to make it like a giveaway on my stream, and whoever won the giveaway would get to decide my hair color for the month. But then I had recently dyed it right before my dad died, and I did my favorite green. And for some reason, after he passed, I had so much anxiety regarding dyeing my hair. And I just recently did this year, and it turned out awful because I rushed it, and it was really, really bad. It was really bad. But I did it, and I faced my fear on that. But I wear wigs a lot for every stream now. I love wigs, but thanks to tariffs and I can't order them off Temu because I don't give a fuck what any says. I know they're cheap, but I need them to be cheap because I literally just wear them for stream. I can't buy them anymore, so the ones I got, I'm trying to make last. I have a very weird style. I love baggy clothes. I love baggy pants. I also work manual labor, so most of the time I'm just in my work uniform, which is just like slacks and a plain t-shirt. I have 16, 18. I have a bunch of tattoos. I have my earlobes behind my ear. I have my arm, my sides, my back. I have a leg sleeve. Back when I thought I was going to be a doctor, I have my other foot. I can't wear earrings or really any other jewelry because my body doesn't like it, but I do have my tongue pierced. That's the only one that's last. I did have a dermal, but I had to take it out before I had my second surgery because they needed to do an MRI, so they made me take it out, and I haven't gotten another one. And that one lasted, I want to say like 10 years. That bitch lasted forever. I have a shit ton of band t-shirts. I love it. We will talk about the rest of the shit that I wanted to talk about that I actually didn't get to because I got derailed. This is why I make scripts. And I sound like a robot because I get derailed as hell. Let me get myself put together and I will come back. Ready? Here we are. we're done. Okay, so to finish off, why I started YouTube or Twitch. I already talked about why I started Twitch, but I had started YouTube a long time ago. I started kind of really when I was going through my divorce because I just needed an outlet. But then recently I decided that I wanted to yap a lot more than I already do on stream. And because I can't necessarily stream every single day, making little YouTube videos was easier. So that's why I started that. My content doesn't really have a niche. It is a fucking shit show, as you can see. It's a shit show. I can't tell you what you can expect or what to expect, but expect a mess. And if you just like to hear yapping, then you're in the right place. I do love to talk about the WNBA, and I will continue to talk about the WNBA. I don't give a shit. But that's not obviously what my content's going to be centered around. I'm not going to be like a makeup guru. I'm not going to do any of that. I do enjoy makeup quite a bit. My dream sponsorship is Monster Energy. I would literally give anything to be sponsored by Monster. They don't have to pay me. They don't have to send me anything. They don't have to send me anything for free. They don't have to send me free monsters. They don't have to send me nothing. I just want to be able to legally say I am sponsored by Monster Energy. That's all I want out of any. That's it. My most embarrassing moment on stream was when I got drunk. My biggest fear is heights that won't kill me. I already talked about my tattoos. I do want a few more. Me and my sister are getting matching tattoos of a chicken holding a pistol because our mating call, as I call it, not literally, she's my sister, not by blood, but whatever, you get it. Our mating call is fuck off. One thing that people assume about me that's wrong is that I am a bitch, that I am not a nice person, that I am not approachable. That's a lie. Why I'm very awkward in situations and I'm just very blunt, but I am so nice to the point that it's toxic. And that is probably my toxic trait, is that I am just so nice to people that are nice to me. If you're not nice to me, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. I'm autistic and I'm just blunt, but I am so nice because I don't ever want to inconvenience anybody. My favorite holiday, obviously Halloween, but I really don't like holidays in general because they just bring up a lot of horrible shit in my life. What keeps me going on hard days? My family, my chosen family. Without them, I wouldn't be here. The biggest lesson I've learned recently, that one's heavy. I don't know if I should say that one. That sometimes your guilt is not justified and it's okay to not feel guilty, and that you don't have to feel guilty because you didn't do anything wrong. I'll keep it at that. Your relationship with social anxiety and mental health. I have incredible crippling social anxiety. Going through a drive-through gives me unfucking real anxiety. Going to the grocery store, going to even pick up my medication that's supposed to help with my crippling anxiety, scheduling an appointment, especially if it feels like I am inconveniencing someone. My mental health has not always been great, and it's not great right now, but we are working on it, and I do plan on getting back into therapy when I move. And my goals as a creator and as a person, my goal is to finish my master's degree and get a really, really good paying job and pay all of my mother's bills and buy her a house. My goals as a creator is to just keep enjoying it. I have no goals financially or like making this a career. I just love it. I truly love it, and I don't want to ever lose loving it or feel obligated to do it. And I felt kind of this renewed love for it now that I'm not. This used to be my bedroom. It's not anymore. Now it's just my office, and I found this renewed sort of love for it. Oh, this or that. I have to pick one. Cats or dogs? Do I have to pick? Right now I have a cat, so cats. Summer or winter? Freaking winter all the way. I hate being hot. I love being cold. Mosh pit or movie night? Movie night at home by myself watching Wicked. Okay, that's it. That's all. Those were some things that people gave me ideas about and things I should include. Oh, I lied. I do have a dog. She's just in a box. I'm sorry. I make jokes to cope. I might cut that out. Anyways, if you made it through this whole video, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you so much. So sorry I got weird. This is why I make scripts for videos when I make videos, because that got derailed. Anyways, I hope you're having a great day or night, wherever the fuck you're at in the world. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Obviously, make good choices, be nice, be kind, be gentle, and you will be seeing me in my next video. Bye!